Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews. Today we're doing a Hong Kong content review for 88 Films' new lineup for Human Lanterns, a part of the Asian collection. This is spine number 33, revised premium edition with a nice snazzy slipcase there. You get a really nice premium edition from 88 Films lineup for the Shaw Brothers Library. You get a nice little booklet, I think you get a poster as well. Yeah, really nice snazzy edition. Finally getting around to talking about this film after seeing it 2 weeks ago or so. My apartment right now is currently Dante's Inferno level of heat, and it is very difficult for me to actually do videos. So I apologise if the video is a bit delayed, and I've been really wanting to talk about it ever since video. I'm going to be a little bit more onto the point with this one. I'm not going to mess around as much, down to the fact that I am literally dying right now of actual heat, and I don't want to get a heat stroke doing this video. So let's get straight to it. Human Lanterns is a film that I was very curious about, very cautious about. If you know anything about the channel, if you know anything about me, if you've interacted with me outside of kind of the channel and on the Hong Kong community pages, kind of supernatural kind of Hong Kong movies have not been my kind of forte. They've been very mixed bag for me. The ones I have seen, like Black Magic and Spooky Encounters, there have been some pretty good ones like Mr. Vampire, of course, but I've not seen many. I've seen a few. In terms of like, a Ghost Story, The Cat, if you count that one, more of a spookier one kind of thing, but that's more like Terminator, kind of more sci-fi type stuff. Yeah, the more supernatural, the more wacky, crazy, Zulu Warriors, for instance. I don't know when there's a fine line between the kind of the two, and I always found, with a lot of these kind of more kind of bigger, crazier, supernatural horror-based ones, they tend to go one way or the other. Or they go more comedy, they go more slapstick, or they just go full-on batshit crazy and they have no real story, no real plot. And Human Lanterns, I know the poster, I know the cover of this, I knew it was a serial killer that was basically kidnapping and raping women and using their skin to create human lanterns. That's all I knew. I knew it was a Shaw Brothers classic. I know a lot of people in the community really love this film. It's finally uncut, also on the Blu-ray. I was very, very curious. I wasn't expecting too much, and when I finally got around to watching it, I thought, let's give this a go. Let's see what it has to offer. And what I got was an outstanding, fantastic, probably the best surprise of the entire year. I'm currently more than halfway through 2022, and I think Human Lanterns definitely deserves probably the most surprising Hong Kong film of the entire year. This film was released in 1982, directed by Chung Sung, which I've never seen any of his other films. I looked at his IMDb list, I've not seen any of his other movies. Hopefully they'll get some nice premium editions in terms of the 88 film library. But I went into this expecting this kind of like insane gore fest, nasty kind of, full-on 18 rated, just, exploitation maybe kind of film. And there's a little bit of exploitation in places. But what I didn't expect and what I was surprised to get was a really interesting take on the kind of the wushu kind of, fighting style. Interesting cam work, interesting location, and a really engaging kind of rivalry between these two masters. The whole film basically are these two rival masters in this kind of little small town, and they're both got kind of like wealthy status. They're both rich, they're both kind of well respected, but they're both arrogant as fuck, and they want to kind of try and get up each other each way kind of thing. The start of the film, there's a competition every year about who creates the best lanterns and who wins, and they're both trying to kind of one up each other. The one rival kind of guy, he's marrying a kind of a prostitute that the other guy has had affairs with and slept with, and he's getting pissed off and jealous of her, even though he has a wife, and it's just... and they're both kind of like trying to one-up each other in the sense of that, and then it gets escalates, and they start to kind of break out into fights. They start to accuse each other of manipulation and murder and, extortion and all that stuff. You got the kind of the police, the constable stuff that was also in the middle of it. So you've got so much going on. You've got a person who is hiding out in the woods, who is someone who's a little bit cuckoo, a little bit crazy, he's gonna be insane, and he makes all the lanterns. And our main kind of character, he's gone to basically seek him out to find the best person who can make the best lanterns, and he finds it's an old rival, it's an old adversary he was defeated a long time ago. He's got a scar on his face, he's wounded kind of thing, he's no longer kind of a sword expert, kind of Hong Kong expert, and he's a bit kind of out there in a little bit, and he has tasked him to make the best lantern ever, because I won him in the competition. And he's tasked, he's not really thought too much of it. Hey, I defeated you years ago, oh well, you're doing this, so no big problem. Let bygones be bygones, just make me what I want and I'll make you a very rich man. And he sets out to make him literally the most creepiest, most insane lanterns ever, and that is the Human Lanterns. Are literally have people's skin, and he kills women and he kidnaps women and does all sorts of nasty things to them. And What I find about this film that's so engaging, so well done, is that it's surprising at almost every single level. One, the whole kind of rival clan aspect to it, I think is well handled. I think it has plenty of escalation in terms of manipulation from the kind of the main bad guy, the main villain character. He wears this kind of like ghoul type mask, kind of skeleton type mask, and he has this kind of like really insane kind of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory on acid kind of underground factory kind of thing, you know, with blood and skeletons and, you know, kind of nasty kind of bone wheels, and it's just like a really kind of horror house, you know, one of those amusement parks, you know, your interactive experiences you go into, and it's absolutely wonderfully kind of presented. The colours are insane as well, lots of kind of deep kind of reds and purples and all sorts of that kind of thing, and really demonstrate how, you know, he's really set this up. He's really kind of like, he's got a fountain of blood, and he really takes this seriously, and he starts kidnapping women, but what he starts to do is start manipulating it. He starts to kind of plant the seed. You know, he kidnaps a kind of a hunter, you know, a sister of the kind of the main one of the rival characters, and, you know, does what he needs to do with her, and eventually goes through kind of all the personal kind of victims that are involved, the people that do find out throughout the course of the film. The whole point of the film, and what it's trying to say, is be careful of your pride, be careful of greed and kind of, you know, status and kind of, you know, being rich and powerful and being elite, and, you know, squabbling and kind of rivaling over the most pettiest things and just trying to be number one. And that's kind of the motto of most Hong Kong movies, but I think this one has a very interesting approach, and the whole point of the film in terms of kind of like this serial killer going around doing what he does, and the only reason he gets away with it so much, and the only reason he manages to do what he does, is because the whole town is so distracted with these two rival characters that won't let up for a single second. They're always trying to outdo each other, and they eventually start doing some pretty nasty kind of fight sequences. There's an assassin character that later on comes and tries to take on the kind of rival, and that doesn't go quite well. There's more assassins, ninja assassins later on with the other one, so they're all trying to kill each other in various ways, and they're all thinking like, my sister's gone missing, my wife's gone missing, you have to be behind it. And the police, the constables are distracted. They're constantly trying to, you know, break up these fights. They are failing to see who the actual true villain of the film is, and who the true kind of serial killer going around making these kind of big statements, who's kidnapping these women, leaving kind of like, you know, blood trails behind. And you kind of get to see his insane nature as he kind of presents himself, how he is as an actual person with a scar, and he's just kind of a very imbalanced type of character. When he has the mask on, he's kind of like this kind of like ghoul kind of creature. But the reason why this character is the way he is because he was an old rival of one of our main characters in the film also, and he was someone who was well established, who had a wife, who the other character basically slapped and killed, and he left him humiliated, scarred, and took away his status, and he became a kind of a recluse in the woods, and he one day seek revenge on the guy, and it so happened that he came to him and didn't even give him the respect. And what makes this film so impressive is that, similar to kind of Dreadnought in terms of its kind of inspiration, in terms of the different genres of the Friday the 13th, Jello type movies, Italian horror, this one, it feels more contemporary in terms of an American slasher. It's got a nice structure, it's got fantastic pacing, like the pacing is solid. I love the camera work, especially towards the third act when they do the all-out fight sequences and they got the tracking movement camera. Some amazing kind of camera work in the film, and you've got an amazing kind of set that kind of gets ripped apart and torn, and you've got some really elaborate kind of like, you know, wonderful kind of designed kind of locations in terms of the underground kind of torture chamber and the huts kind of thing in the town setting and that stuff. Very simple locations, but used effectively, used very well to kind of create these bigger stakes. Super violent in places as well in terms of some of the injuries. It's not too crazy in terms of kind of the violence. Yes, there is kind of skin peeling. Yes, there is some rape in the film, but it's not shown, it's not glorified, it's not kind of like there for like 10 minutes in your face. It's there to kind of prove a point to the characters literally trying to humiliate our main rival characters and trying to laugh and mock them and say, you know, while you're doing what you're doing, I've just done all this stuff and created you the best human quest lantern you're ever going to receive. And it's to the point where it scars the fucking character, and it is absolutely brutal in that sense. And I think because it's so well presented in terms of its kind of wushu fight scenes, well, you know, there's some really amazing kind of, you know, nice kind of well-crafted fight sequences that's brief and kind of nicely paced, and it makes sense. And it wasn't this kind of like giant, nasty kind of gore-fest type movie. This film was also fully uncut, and you can sort of tell the kind of the sequences that have been added in. There's a couple of shots in the film which are definitely slightly lower res quality compared to the kind of the rest of the film, but it's perfectly fine. And clearly they couldn't find the original source material, but they managed to insert these kind of scenes into the film pretty well, mostly, kind of thing, I would say. And it's not too bad considering, considering it's, literally a skin being peeled, literally is violence and blood coming off kind of thing. There's a little bit of brief nudity. It's not overly done, it's not terrible, it's not in your face, it's not like super shock factor kind of thing in that sense compared to some other films I've seen in the kind of the genre. It's well handled. It makes sense to the film, and it has a point to it as well in terms of how he treats these women characters, how he treats specifically women towards our main kind of characters, our main rival characters, and he really goes to town for them. And I like how outlandish and how insane this character is, how much damage has been done to him mentally, physically, and this persona identity, and he's willing to go to the ends of the earth to basically have his revenge, to have his say, and a moral tale of be careful of your pride, be careful of greed, be careful of power, and don't treat the ones you love, the ones you care about, as secondary objects, and that lesson definitely has been learned by the end of the film. Yeah, Human Lanterns, easily one of the best kind of supernatural, kind of spookier type movies in the kind of the Hong Kong genre, which is amazing for me to say because there's not many that I particularly like. This is definitely one of the best, absolutely for sure, and I absolutely recommend everyone to go and check out Human Lanterns. Go and pick up the Blu-ray if you're not too sure about it. Honestly, it's worth every penny. This is a fantastic ride, and definitely a worthy experience for sure. That's my thoughts and opinions, guys, on Human Lanterns. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. What do you think on the film itself? Please comment down below. I will be picking up the new 88 films, The Seventh Curse, from the director of Watch a Ghost Story and Story of Ricky. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. Another kind of supernatural, wacky, kind of, 80s Hong Kong movie. Looking forward to checking that one out. Hopefully that one will be something quite special. In the meantime, guys, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.